and welcome to the Habits and Home Show. I'm your host, Lisa Lazat, and I help busy moms bring order to their homes by downsizing and decluttering and ditching old habits in exchange for systems that bring peace and more enjoyment to their lives. If you're a mom trying to show the love of Jesus to your family, but the clutter in your home keeps you overwhelmed and frustrated, you have come to the right place. On this podcast, you will hear easy, step-by-step tips to declutter and create systems so you can keep your home organized and finally walk in the peace God has promised you. Need some accountability? I've got you covered there too. Join the Accountability Club, a community of like-minded mamas decluttering and systemizing our homes together. Are you ready, friend? Let's get started. Hey friends, and welcome to the show. I hope that you are having a fabulous summer. Summertime is my favorite time. And if you're on my email list, you got an email from me just last week saying that I am intentionally trying to embrace boredom this summer. I don't want to just jam pack our schedule and, strive to entertain my kids so that they're not bored. No, I want them to be bored because boredom leads to creativity. Boredom leads to longing, and we need to embrace boredom so that we can embrace and be able to experience those human emotions and those human desires, right? So I want you to strive to embrace boredom, not just for your kids, but also for yourself. A couple other life updates. We've been having a lot of fun, and this past Tuesday, June 11th, we celebrated, my husband and I, our 19th wedding anniversary. I cannot believe, y'all, I don't feel that old. I still feel like I'm 21 years old. I am not. I am 40. I feel like I'm in that middle-age motherhood, which is so weird to say. I'm so used to having little ones for so long. I never thought that I would get out of that little kid stage. So all you moms, I relate with you, and I'm here to coach you and counsel you and just help you navigate those little years. And for all my moms that are out of the season of raising kids and you have adult kids, I'm here for you too. But during this summer, I'm taking a little break from coaching here on the podcast, and we're just touching base with not all, but some of my former clients and students inside the Accountability Club in my one-to-one coaching, and just hearing their story. So I cannot wait for you to meet my client, Katie. She is an ADHD mama who reached out to me to get some coaching and some help in her house. And boy, did she have a transformation. All right, let's dive into today's conversation. Hey, Katie, and welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to touch base with you since we stopped your coaching a couple of months ago. You did your 12 weeks with me, and I loved getting to know you, coaching you through decluttering and organizing your entire house. So first of all, let me just ask you, how is it going since we've last talked? Now, we don't expect things to be perfect. This is normal life, right? We're in testing phase. And so how has it been going since us working together? How's it going in your home?
Hi. Things have been going really well. Um, I would say the biggest change has been systems. And when something is broken, we can fix it with
Yeah.
confidence. And yeah, like just having some daily routines to keep everything reset.
Love that. So tell me just like, let's start off with one system. What one system is working in your home?
So you and I worked a lot on my basement, and it was very cluttered,
Yeah.
and it was so overwhelming.
Right.
So I often would just see the clutter, or I wouldn't see the clutter. I would be blind to it, and it would just keep collecting. So probably one of the best systems has just, and it's not daily, but I would say about weekly. I do see my basement a lot because my laundry's down there. So just resetting and the basement. And I kind of, my system is really picking one spot that can be sort of the zone that I bring everything to. And then kind of disperse from there. If it's trash, if it's a giveaway, if it is needs to go upstairs. And that system really only takes like 30 minutes to an hour every week. And sometimes the kids like get involved with their toys. And it's wild how asking them, do you want to put this away or do you want to give it away? They give away a lot of things now.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
and
that. I love because the system that you mentioned is something that I talk about on the podcast, but I also teach my clients like you working one-on-one to do when we tackle a space is we pull everything to a workspace. And so the fact that you took that nugget after our training, like I said, we spent 12 weeks together and we did this over and over. Like we practiced this system of knowing what to do. Sometimes people are paralyzed, and you were when you looked
yeah,
at this, when you looked at your basement and it had just been collecting things because life happens and it just got overwhelming. You're like, I don't even know how to tackle this. I feel paralyzed. And so
yeah,
having a system of attack is great. But I don't want when I'm working with people it to be like, okay, depend on me, depend on me. Okay, now you're dependent on me for the
yeah,
rest of your life to be able to keep your house up. I told you before, I say, all right, your 12 weeks is over. Now it's time for you to fly, basically leave the nest and fly on your own and apply the information that I helped you to create, the systems that I helped you create. So it makes me so proud to hear you say, when the basement needs to be tidied up, I bring everything to a certain place and then I disperse it from there. It helps you to know, okay, this is all that I need to do. And I need to do it on a consistent basis because if I allow it to pile up, then I'm going to be overwhelmed. So I just want to commend you for that, being able to take what you've learned from our time together and really apply it to your family and to your life because that's what I want. I want you to be independent and be able to like know how to, have these systems and create them. Okay. So talking about your basement. Okay. So some of the times when we would do our coaching call, I would actually have you practice decluttering right then. I would say, okay, we're going to be talking through some of this, but I want you to go ahead and start decluttering right now. And sometimes our 1 hour sessions would turn into 2 hour sessions because you found that having me there gave you
mhm,
the permission and the like, you said, I don't know what it is, but having me right there, just I feel like I can do it. And I've heard this from several of my clients that I'm coaching, even right now. She said, I don't know what's in me right now, but somehow I'm able to let go of more.
yeah.
So just tell me, how did that feel and what was the difference? What made you feel like you could let go of things while I was there?
That is very accurate. I, gosh, I don't know if it's like the phenomenon when people talk about body double or having someone there, but I think your experience, your knowledge, and then yeah, we like formed a friendship. So I felt um like it was really helpful with like remember when we went through all the pictures, the sentimental stuff, which in any decluttering books they say do that last. So I never got to it, so I always just kind of put everything into boxes and kind of always shoved it into some corner. So it was really helpful to sort. I don't like in the blank, like there were things that yeah, it was permission, really. It was the ability to kind of say, I feel that I need to keep this. And then you're like, okay, why? And there really was no reason.
Yeah.
Um
Sometimes our
and
brain does that to us. And so when we have that outside person, I think a lot of people are scared to work with an organizer because they think the person is going to be bossy and they're going to tell them to do things that they're not comfortable doing. But yeah, there is some discomfort sometimes because I'm challenging you. But how I like to coach people is I just ask you why. And sometimes our brain tells us lies. And and even like building up or thinking about the sentimental items, when we created the system where we had the kids' different boxes and you were just simply putting them in the box, you're like, wow, this is not as big of a deal as my brain was telling me. And while you were doing that, you're like, wow, I'm able to really think like concretely about this and objectively and say,
Yeah.
wow, these things aren't as important to me as I have been building it up in my brain.
Yeah, I almost feel that I feel like you were fine with me keeping anything if I had a reason, or if, and it was interesting because you challenging me really made me realize that I could get rid of it on my own. It felt very comfortable. I know, like, I keep thinking of the blankets because I was hoarding blankets,
Yeah,
and
tell us about the blankets.
I just I had a lot of just extra blankets. We go camping a lot. We use air mattresses. So I had like those for those. And then I had my mom crocheted my kids like four baby blankets every
Each.
single each, and I have three kids. So we had a lot of baby blankets. And there were a couple, it was easy to get rid of because they had holes, or they aren't in
Yeah.
use, but they weren't currently using them. And I also felt like, because it was sentimental, I had to keep it. And actually, I ended up giving my mom, so that I gave my mom about four of those blankets back. And then the other ones are on my kids' bed. Like, they
Yeah.
wanted them and they use them and they mean something to them. So it's been nice. They're no longer cluttering the basement because they're in use.
Right.
Um, and then, like, I remember there were a couple blankets I was throwing in Goodwill, and you were like, "Well, you could keep that one." And I'm like, "No, I don't like it." I realized that that blanket was not even my favorite blanket. So,
Right.
um, yeah, definitely having you there was really helpful.
Yeah.
And um, you
Yeah.
always said like practicing the muscle, but that's
Yeah.
truly how I looked at it, and I look at it still with not working.
Good. Yeah. And I talk about that a lot. And I almost mentioned it right before you said it. Is I wanted to ask you, like, how did that feel? Like in the beginning, I wouldn't say there was resistance because we started in a simple area of your home. We
Mhm.
started in the kitchen area and the arrival station. And so those were kind of really easy. And you said, I've already decluttered this area. So how did it feel as we were going? Because we also talked about routines, y'all. I don't do just decluttering. We do like time management, we do routines. I help you to solidify your bare minimum 3 steps for your like morning routine and your evening routine. And that's something that you found was really helpful is getting clarity over what do I actually need to do? Because you are putting a lot of pressure on yourself to do all of this skincare routine and all of this stuff. And I'm like, what do you really want to do? And you're like, well, I really only want to use this. And I'm like, okay, well, just do that and brush your teeth. And so I feel like, you were getting a lot of clarity, but you were also, like you said, working that like letting go of. And I think you were also working that muscle of letting go of the fantasy life that you had built up and you thought, I have to use these things. I have to do this. So just talk about your transition through our time together. Like in the beginning, what were you a little bit more hesitant? And the more that you worked that muscle, it got easier and easier.
You've changed my life. Like, you need to know that in so many different ways, and I've shared this with my friends. It's like I wanted to work with you because of decluttering and organizing, and truly you were like a life coach to me in so
Oh,
many different areas. Because, or like big sister, I feel like
yeah.
my big sister, but it's like I was living, and I don't, I was living kind of more uh spontaneously, and I don't I wanted so bad to have routines and systems. And I think for the majority of my life, I have thought if I could just get my morning, evening, work time routines, like all these different routines and systems, and magically my house would be organized and my life would be simple. And like you said, all of that, my routines I was trying to create were the opposite. They were not simple at
Yeah.
all. They were,
Yeah.
because you look at Pinterest or you Google like morning routine, and everyone has these great morning routines that are 8 steps long. And um, I think it could change with each season,
Right.
like different things that are important. But you really taught me your bare minimum three are really helpful because of like habit stacking and like building the habit to begin with. Because
Yeah.
I had so many steps that I never was doing them all, and so I automatically felt like a failure.
Yeah.
Um, so I will, yeah, there was total resistance to just knocking it down to three because I
Yeah.
did. But what I found is that it's almost like categories. So you were talking about skincare, and I sort of, in my mind, skincare is a category of a
Right.
habit of
Yeah.
my bare minimum three. But some days that is 4 steps, and some days that's 1 step. And it can kind of, I think that's what's helped separate my routine from like a rhythm where depending upon
What you're feeling.
the day. Yeah, depending upon my
Yeah.
schedule, depending upon if we're running late and all that, I I'll always get 1 step in. But
Yeah.
and it just makes me, gosh, I definitely was resistant. And then all of a sudden after a couple weeks, I felt like it was weird if I didn't do one of the steps of the
Yeah.
routine.
Yes, that's what I say. It becomes automatic. Like I use the example of resetting your dishes every night. When that was my first when I made this life decision. I was like, okay, I've got to do something. And I'm going to start with resetting my dishes in my sink. When
Mhm.
I would lay down at night and I'd be like, nope, I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm tired. I deserve to go ahead and go to bed. I would lay in my bed at night and be like, oh my goodness, this feels weird. I feel like, and it would prompt me. I'll be like, I just got to go do
You
it.
felt off.
Yeah, I felt off. And so that's what I want for you. I want you to you where you're and that's why I say get it down to just three bare minimum steps. Because if you can solidify those, they'll become automatic and they become a part of your identity. And when
Yeah.
you don't do them, you feel off. And that is the what compels you to do it. We don't want to always have this struggle of like, oh, I have to do this. No, it's like I'm not a complete person if I don't do this. That's
Hmm.
the ultimate goal. And I I loved helping you like sort through your makeup and all of that because you like to collect and in our generation we're influenced and we see oh this person says this makeup's good I need to get it but then like you said if I have so much then I end up not doing any of it or it doesn't feel simple or and so I remember me saying, okay, scoop it all up, take it to your
Laid
bed.
it on my bed.
Yep, go ahead and tell them what you did.
Yeah, like just laying it on my bed, and we sorted. So I love sorting. That was a fun activity. But once we finally sorted it out, it was wild because I
Yeah,
had 4 different foundations, 4 different mascaras, 4 different, and of course, and I think the cool part, like, I was so scared you were gonna make me throw everything away, but I kind of created like a little like a specialty makeup where if I'm gonna, I might only use it a couple times a year, but it was expensive and it's something that I would wear if I'm dressing up or
right.
something like that. And I have that I put, in my kind of bathroom storage area. So I really pared it down to just my favorites and
Yeah,
kind of like a 5-minute makeup routine. And it's so nice. It's That's still working really well.
good.
And Yeah. Yeah. Like you helping with all of those kind of smaller building blocks to, because if you just, I don't know, that was another thing is I've worked with organizers before and it's, they that have come into my house and helped me organize. But then when you don't help with all of the habits that and the like daily like little blocks, then it's just going to go back to
Yeah.
a disaster because it always did. And so I considered it a failure and I never it was hard. I had this limiting belief that I could not keep something clean. And my my personality is sometimes not as structured that I want to be organizing and cleaning all the time.
Right.
So it was really nice. You helped me honestly with like self-confidence and in many areas of my life only because we worked on like these small building blocks that helped me recognize, if you're taking care of yourself and it's easy to do because you don't have as many steps, then you know, then the actual like the resets like you talked about the dishes and the sink and all these different other quote chores that we have to
Yeah.
do are easier to maintain.
Right.
Um and yeah, I don't
They
know.
just they just become natural. I call it
Yeah.
your natural flow. And that is what I think when we strip a lot away and we get back when we first become moms and wives, we're given this house we have to manage and we end up bringing in because we don't know any better. We feel like we have to recreate our parents' house and so we bring in all this stuff and then we also have shiny object syndrome or like, oh yeah, bring it all in and we
Hmm.
haven't built those, like you said, those small building blocks to where we have the capacity to handle that much. And so we have to parent ourselves, strip a lot of it away, get down to the bare minimum but through layers. Okay, this is just one of the layers of decluttering and simplifying. You're going to come back after your testing period and you're going to be like, okay, I'm still overwhelmed. We're
Hmm.
still have a mess where I can't easily pick it up. I'm going to declutter even more. And so I think when we get it down and strip a lot of it away, we're able to build those foundational skills that we jumped over when we just brought in a lot of stuff. So
Hmm.
I love that you mentioned those foundational building blocks. I do not claim to be a therapist by any means, but I what I tell people is that it's like when working with me like an organizer. I'm not going to say all organizers because I feel like I'm different in some way. And I'm not
You
saying
are.
I'm not saying that I just really believe that we should walk in the gifts that God has given us. I tell people, I said it's like doing therapy, but having like the practical day-to-day application of like, okay, I'm getting mental help but I'm also getting something tangible to do
Yeah.
so that it's not all mental that I'm having to like rethink the way that I think, but I'm actually putting to practice some of these like action taking things. And so I always say it's like getting therapy for your house, taking your
No,
house to
you
therapy.
you give tactical like
Yeah.
solutions and I think that was what like it moves the needle. You feel
Yeah.
so much it's just really empowering to be able and of course we have huge messes like I've in my basement which is sort of my play area that's kind of the problem is it's not we have a storage room that's just storage so it's easier when you go in to get something you can try to just add a little more intentionality to putting stuff away and making it kind of clutter free but with
Yeah.
the kids area, they're constantly every day going down and bringing things out and leaving bowls down there and doing
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. So those are kind of the areas, just like your living space or dining space, kitchen that you've got to reset. And
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but I don't think I knew that they needed to be reset. I was just waiting for somebody else to clean it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It never
And
happened.
life is going to happen. I mean, our houses are not going to be mausoleums until our kids are out of the house. And it's
Yeah.
just, I'm not saying we need to throw up our hands and say, okay, for the next 10 years while my kids are living here, I'm just going to accept the mess. We just have to decide, okay, I'm not going to be super like Nazi mom and say, "Oh, no, don't make a mess, blah 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 blah." I just feel like we have to give the grace, but then also be an adult and say, okay, everybody, we need to take a moment to reset because if mama isn't feeling good, I'm not going to be my best for everyone. So, yeah, allow for life to happen. Don't create such a perfect picture, house to where nobody can sit on the couch or nobody can grab a blanket
Yeah.
and accidentally leave it there when they went to bed. I mean, I would literally cleaned up like 4 blankets last night. I just quickly and it took maybe 2 minutes to roll them up and stick
The
them in the
the
basket.
power of folding a blanket and how it makes the space feel so much tidy is
Yeah.
wild to me. Because that's always in our living room. And it's so nice. I think part of my motivation to hire you and to work with you too is just I wanted these skills so my kids could kind of learn them as well. Because I didn't have them. So it's nice. I like them, they loved you're talking to your organizer friend. But I was a very open conversation with them about like these are the skills and the tools to keep our house orderly. And they love
Yeah.
our house orderly. So it's been
Yes.
helpful. They've started making their bed, and it's not every day, but they're learning the skill to be able to do that. And when you do declutter and when you have less stuff, it can get really messy. Have a party, you have people over, the kids are home all for spring break, but it's still, you could look at it as overwhelming. But when you have the tools, your thoughts don't go to freeze, at least for
Yeah.
me. I'm not paralyzed anymore. It's the ability to um, look at something and come to a solution that
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do before. But
Yeah.
I mean, the accountability with you working through the whole decluttering process was super helpful. So I don't want to
Yeah.
discount that.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, and I talk to a lot of ADHD moms because I've realized that our brains just think differently. And I say when I do my podcast episodes, I say, ADHD moms or even moms that think they have ADHD because in our generation, we just have a really hard time focusing and like, you know, we have just so much that we're handling and it really, we all have an attention, deficit in some way. And I love how open you were about that. And you weren't ashamed of it or anything. You're like, girlfriend, I need some help. My brain is all scattered all over the place. So would you say, and it's okay if whoever chooses medication or not chooses medication, but would you say by going through this process and getting systems in place and, clearing surfaces and having, less to manage, would you say that that helped your ability to think clearly, to pay attention, would you say overall that it helped you?
Yes. Oh my gosh. 1,000%. Yeah, I think so I got diagnosed. I like actually got diagnosed with ADHD. I guess I was 34, 34 years old. And I definitely was someone who always, and I agree. A lot of my friends will, they probably don't have ADHD clinically, but definitely feel it just with today's
Right.
society and all of the stuff on our plates as moms. But I got diagnosed because honestly, it was an organizer I worked with, and I just was defeated. And I said, I don't understand. Every single day, I just think my house is a mess, but I don't do anything. I just, and I kept calling myself lazy at first because I, I didn't know what to do. And I just became so overwhelmed mentally. And, she sort of was like, I think you truly have clutter like blindness because as soon as someone would want to come over or, I knew that someone was going to look, and sometimes it would just be myself, but I all of a sudden could see it. I saw all
Hmm.
the clutter and I just didn't, I was living in this cycle that was never ending. And
Hmm.
um you 1,000%, like you
Yeah.
have helped me. I've been on medication before. I'm currently not on medication. And it's been, yeah, it's crazy how
Yeah.
I honestly I would say I couldn't do it without you. you've made, and the point that I made at the beginning, like moving all of your stuff to one area, having like kind of a working zone. What like I'm thinking about too in my upstairs, like a dining room table, just like move everything on the dining room table, sort it, and then just put it away. When
Mm-hmm.
you get to a place where everything has a place, then that becomes a lot easier, and it helps you focus because it's all in one area. It's really hard when
Yes.
you're looking at a room. You also taught me to kind of look like left to right, like, or right to left. Like, let's start in an area and then just keep like
Keeping the
moving.
focus.
Yeah. And that's been so helpful. And I know a lot of my ADHD too was hard for me to build habits. So
Mm-hmm.
um like I said,
And
all the
I think
building
getting
blocks.
getting clarity, and sometimes especially, okay, so ADHD is disordered behavior. Okay. It's not a disease. We're not born with it. It's something we learn or we didn't learn. And
Hmm.
it's disordered behavior. Okay. So that's what we say, it's a disorder. Okay. If we're given some tools, knowing our natural instinct or our natural behavior, if we're given the right tools, then we can undisorder or we can order our behavior. Okay. So it's not a life, a life sentence. So I want people to realize you do not have a disease. You have disordered behavior. Look at it like that and attack it as if, okay, this is disordered behavior. How do you order behavior? Okay, well, you get some steps, you simplify, you get some strategies in place, you get some systems in place. But if you're in a state where you can't even figure out how to order your behavior, then it helps to
Yeah.
have outside perspective from someone who is not so close to the problem, who can look at it constructively and give you some ideas, maybe give you the hard truth and say, hey, girlfriend, you've just taken on too much. You're right now.
Yeah.
You can't organize chaos or you can't organize clutter. So we have to pull a little bit of that away. So I'm super proud of you. I'm not saying, hey, across the board, if you get organized and if you declutter, you'll be able to get off your ADHD medicine. However, I love that for you. I love that for you. And I'm not saying that people should get off their medicine, but I love that
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, it definitely had helped. I think I really wanted, it's so helpful when you find a medicine or something, some sort of supplement or something that you feel can help you focus, because then it's like you can kind of learn the routines and the skills, and then be able to have them in your toolbox when you need them.
Yes.
And that
Yes.
that truly was helpful for me.
Yeah. And I think that that's great. I love that sometimes I don't feel like we should be dependent on medication for, allopathic medication our entire life, but sometimes it comes in a clutch and we're like, okay, I need a helper right now. Whether I'm experiencing anxiety or depression, I know that there are some natural things that I could do, but right now I'm struggling and I just need someone to come along or something to come along and just give me a little break so that, yeah, I can learn these skills like you said. And then once I do that, hey, let's see if I can come off of that medication. I love this. I love this so much. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And y'all, Katie and I have not talked in a couple of months. And so
No.
please don't think that I have, and this is in no way to toot my horn or anything. I just want to share with people that, sometimes we can get really lonely and introverted with our problems and with our struggles. And so I want to share the testimony of like, somebody's before and afters of like, not just the physical clutter, but the mental clutter and the being set free of that mental struggle. And I'm so thankful. I did not prep her or,
No, I
say
wanted you to.
I just kind of sprung it. I know you were like, what are the questions you're going to ask me? I'm like, I really want this to be real and authentic and natural because in this day and age, we need to be more human. There's so much virtual life and fictitious beautification going on, and I just feel like we need authenticity, and we need realness, and we need vulnerability. And so I'm so thankful for you to just share your vulnerability. I mean, you could have said anything. You could have been like, Lisa, it's been crap ever since. But I'm so proud of you. I'm not just proud of like you being able to keep up with it, but I'm proud of like as I've been listening to you of the skills. Like you're talking about like, breaking things down, habit stacking. Like we talked about that, over throughout the entire 12 weeks, and you're mentioning that. I want it to become ingrained. I don't want like in the Bible where it says, you look in a mirror and then you turn around and you forget what kind of man you were. Like I want this to be who you are. Does it mean you have to be perfect? No, but I want you to have the skills and the tools to be able to feel good in your life. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Katie, for not only trusting me to impart on you some of the wisdom that I've learned through life experience, but also coaching other women. But just being willing to open yourself up, say, here's all my crap. Help me get it together. I'm going to be completely vulnerable with you. Help me, because that's what I want to do. And that's what I had always desired for myself. When I'm a young mom, I'm looking around, I'm like, who can help me? Who can help
Yeah.
get my life together? And so I'm so proud of you. And so thank you so much for sharing your testimony with everyone, with being vulnerable. And yeah, if you can tell anybody anything, just to end this call, what would you tell them?
I will say, this started with me listening to your podcast. I just was listening. I'm pretty sure I Googled or searched in a podcast and found yours, stumbled upon it, started listening, and thought, I I think, like you said, being able to admit or kind of say vulnerably, I need help, or she's saying she can help me, I don't know, and reaching out to you, and the rest is history. I mean, it was truly something that I am so happy that I did, and I looked forward to our calls every week. um and throughout the whole process, I didn't feel I mean, I felt empowered. You made me
Good.
feel empowered in so many different ways. And um yeah, I say,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about it, you should do it. It's life
Oh,
changing.
I love that, Katie. Well, thank you so much. And I just pray that you continue to move forward feeling good about yourself. And if you ever need to come back and get a little refresher, you know where to find me. But
Oh,
I am so
I
confident,
will.
and you are definitely a success story. I mean, I have like lots, I mean, everybody that I work with, they have lots of success stories. And that's what we need to be to each other is community and, sharing our gifts, sharing our, just what God has equipped us to do, because we need other people who can help us through life. And so thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Hey friend, before you go, I wanted to tell you more about the Accountability Club. Each month, we'll tackle a new space in our homes and work together to declutter and set up systems so we can easily maintain order without getting overwhelmed. You'll get a new decluttering tutorial each month, the coaching and accountability you need to actually follow through, and encouragement without judgment from other Christian moms in a safe environment. And guess what? The entire club is off of social media, so you don't have to worry about distractions the world may throw at you. Sweet friend, if you're feeling stuck in your decluttering journey, this is the place for you. Click the link below to try out the Accountability Club and start decluttering today.